Katie, you know, you're an authority, I think, now on the young royals. You're in there telling us all about them. What will Queen Elizabeth's legacy be? What have we got in terms of young royals and things to look forward to? Charles will not be looking forward to Netflix, will he? That's happening soon.
No, I don't think he'll be looking forward to Netflix at all. I mean, this book actually was an amazing experience to write this because, as you said, I've always really got my teeth into the young royals and, you know, my days were spent in and out of bougie nightclub with William and Harry as they were growing up and following their lives. And to actually really get into the Queen's legacy, to understand that, I interviewed some amazing people. I spoke to her late cousin, Lady Elizabeth Anson, who I spoke to over the course of about a decade, but I had to wait until I could publish those interviews until the timing was right. And I managed to speak to a remarkable man, the late Philip Bonham Carter, who sadly died very suddenly earlier this year. He'd been her cameraman for 40 years, and the stories and the insight and the access that he had to Queen Elizabeth, there are some wonderful stories in there that I think people will enjoy. And overall, I would say it is a really positive book about the future. I think there is a future for the monarchy. I think all the signs are that Charles will be a great king, albeit a transitional king, because he comes to the throne at 73 years old. But of course, it's that promise, isn't it, of the Cambridge dynasty, now the Waleses, that I think people look to for the future. So there will be rocky times. There's the future of the Commonwealth. There's the United Kingdom, which I reveal worries Charles and keeps him up at night, keeping it united. There are familial discords that we all know too well that really, you know, have created a rift at the heart of the monarchy. And as you say, Eamon, there's Netflix, The Crown, for them to look forward to.
Yeah. So The Crown, what period is The Crown going to be focusing on this time round?
Well, it'll be the early 90s, specifically what the Queen's referred to as her annus horribilis. I mean, sort of two words that have become ingrained in our own dictionaries now. So it's the breakdown of Charles and Diana's marriage, and the spotlight is very much going to be on that. And, you know, one of the things that I was told by a former courtier who worked for the Prince of Wales, as he then was, for about 20 years, was that Charles always feared that the spectre of Diana, and remember it's 25 years since her death, would always hang over his reign. And I think those were legitimate concerns because her legacy continues. She's sort of been frozen in time. And we are going to be watching those very difficult years played out all over again. And for Charles, who's obviously wants to leave the past behind, doesn't want that tabloid version of his past played out all over again. It's happening right at the start of his reign, yeah, so it is a problem.
The timing of the new season coming out just as his reign starts is unfortunate, I think,
unfortunate.
And a real kick for him. But I was reading yesterday, Buckingham Palace is moving to protect King Charles from that. And I don't know how they can do that, really. And I was hearing the sort of suggestions that they'd be sort of trying to put forward his narrative a bit more.
I wonder if we will see the start of a move to perhaps get some of his discourse out there. I mean, certain people did make themselves available to me for that book. And I was able to, I think, dispel some of those myths about Charles. You know, it was always Diana, the hands-on mother, who'd make sure she was there for the boys as they were growing up. Well, actually, Charles was there a lot too. So I very much dispel the myth that he was a hands-on.
And I do think the last season of Netflix actually made you appreciate the love story of the Queen Consort and now King in a way that I hadn't appreciated as a child, because essentially he loved her from the begining.
He did.
He didn't really want to marry Diana, but he was forced to.
Well, he wasn't allowed to marry Camilla.
I didn't know that at the time.
No, so. It's interesting, and I think you're absolutely right, and hopefully viewers will take that away. But I think the real challenge and what the palace really has to get across is that The Crown is fiction.
Yeah.
And I think so many people, particularly the lectures I do in the States, people actually ask me how accurate it is because they think they're watching a historical documentary. It's not. It is fiction. And I think if the palace can get that message across, then hopefully viewers will watch it with a pinch of salt. I don't think the King will be watching it. I don't think Camilla will necessarily watch it either. She did watch the last series with a large glass of red wine in her hand, I'm told, because she has a great sense of humour and she took it in good spirits. But I think even for Charles, this is just a bit too close to the bone.